The night was calm, quiet, only the sound of wind blowing through the trees. Outside the old human outpost, John sat by the window, sipping lukewarm coffee. His outpost was far from any colony, deep in the forest zone of a forgotten planet. He liked it this way, no noise, no rules, no people. But then, the sky cracked. Boom! A bright orange flame ripped across the stars. John stood up fast, his mug falling and shattering on the floor. The fireball screamed through the sky, burning, spinning. Falling. It wasn't a meteor. It was a ship, and it was crashing. He grabbed his coat and ran outside, heart pounding. The ship hit the forest about a mile away. Smoke rose high. The trees were glowing red. John didn't think. He just ran through branches, through fire, through fear. As he reached the crash site, heat hit his face like a wall. The wreck was burning, metal bent and broken, glowing hot. Small fires danced on the grass. Pieces of alien tech sparked and popped. And then he heard it, a soft cough, a whimper. He turned toward the wreckage and saw her, a girl. Alien, young, lying half in, half out of the ship. Blood on her forehead. Her skin was smooth and light purple, glowing softly in the firelight. Long silver hair stuck to her face. Her dress was torn and burned. John froze. He had seen aliens before, but never one like this. She tried to move, failed. Without thinking, John jumped into the wreck, ignoring the heat on his skin. He wrapped his arms around her gently. She was burning up, but still breathing. "Hang on," he said softly. "I've got you." She didn't answer, but her eyes opened for a second, bright gold. Glowing, she looked at him, like she recognized him. Then they closed again. John carried her out, stumbling through smoke. Behind him, the wreck groaned and hissed, about to explode. Just as he reached the trees, a massive boom shot fire into the sky. The shockwave threw him to the ground, the girl still in his arms. He coughed hard, trying to catch his breath. She was unconscious again. Carefully he looked at her neck. A strange mark was glowing there. A symbol, like a crown, inside a flame. He didn't recognize it, but it felt important. Very important. He wrapped her in his jacket and carried her back to his outpost. Inside, he placed her on the bed, cleaned the blood from her forehead. Her breathing was slow but steady. Her skin shimmered faintly in the room's dim lights. She looked peaceful now, but something about her felt heavy, like a secret. John had questions, but right now she needed rest. He sat back in the chair, watching her. Who was she? Why was she alone? Why hadn't any rescue ship come? And then his radio blinked. A message. He hadn't used it in weeks. He opened the screen. A signal was sweeping the area. Not human, military grade, alien language unknown. They were searching for something. Or someone. John looked at the girl. Again, she wasn't just a passenger. She wasn't just lucky to survive. She was important. Too important to be found. Outside, the wind stopped. Then, a hum in the sky. John stepped out and looked up. Two dark alien ships floated above the trees. Silent, watching, scanning. One of them turned, slowly descended toward his outpost. His heart dropped. He looked back at the girl, still unconscious, still glowing, still holding secrets. Asterisk. The door didn't explode open. It clicked. Then creaked. John grabbed the old plasma tool from under his bed. Rusty. Low charge, but better than nothing. He stood between the door and the girl, heart racing. Boots stepped inside. Three figures entered, tall, silent, armored in black. Their helmets glowed faint red, scanning the room. They didn't speak. Not yet. One of them raised a scanning device. A soft ping echoed. His eyes paused on the floor, then looked toward the back room. They were searching for her. John acted calm. "Can I help you?" The lead figure turned to him. His voice came through the mask, cold and metallic. "Have you seen wreckage nearby?" John shrugged. Something lit up the sky. Might have crashed deep in the forest. The soldier stepped closer, scanning John's face. "You live alone?" John nodded. Behind him, the girl lay hidden, concealed. Behind a heat-shielded false wall he'd built years ago for emergencies. He just never imagined using it. For this, the second soldier moved toward the side room. John's fingers tightened on the plasma tool. Just one wrong move. Suddenly, the device in the lead soldier's hand blinked red. John froze. The soldier frowned. Strange. Signal lost. He tapped it again. The blink faded. "Must be interference," he muttered. "This outpost tech is ancient." John smirked a little. "That's the charm." The lead figure stared a second longer, then nodded to his team. "Keep your comms open," he said as they turned to leave. "If you see anything, report immediately." John waited until the door shut. Then waited more, listening for footsteps. Nothing. They were gone. He rushed to the wall panel and pressed the hidden switch. It opened slowly with a hiss. Inside, the girl was curled up, breathing heavy but safe. Her eyes flicked open. She saw him and whispered, "They're still hunting me." Later that night, she sat up slowly in the bed, covered in his thick old blanket. Her body shook, but her voice had strength now. "You could have given me to them," she said. John sat across the room, watching her. Didn't feel right. She looked at him for a long moment, then pulled the blanket off her shoulder. John blinked. There, glowing faintly on her skin just above the collarbone, was a strange symbol like a flame inside a crown, ringed with stars. He had seen something like it once on a banned data ship during his smuggler days. "That symbol," he whispered. She nodded. "You know it?" John hesitated. "A royal crest, but it was supposed to be extinct." Her voice dropped. "I am extinct, at least to them," she explained bit by bit. "A royal house, betrayed, overthrown. Her escape was never supposed to happen. They were supposed to destroy the ship before it reached atmosphere. But she made it further than they expected. They'll search until they find me," she said. "And they'll kill anyone who helps me." John leaned back in his chair, trying to make sense of it. "So you're, what, a princess?" She looked him in the eye. "No," she said. "I'm the princess." She stood weakly and stepped to the mirror. Her hair was still messy, face bruised, but there was strength in her reflection. "Your name?" she asked. "John." She touched the edge of the mirror, her voice softer. "Now, you have a kind soul, John. That's rare," he chuckled. "Kind souls don't live alone in places like this." She turned to face him. "And broken stars don't fall into kind hands by accident." He blinked. "That a proverb?" She smiled faintly. "No, it's just something I wish were true." Then suddenly her legs gave out. John rushed forward and caught her. Her body was burning up again, skin pulsing with strange energy. "Your fever's back." "It's not fever," she breathed, eyes glowing brighter now. "It's my power. It's waking up again." "What kind of power?" he asked, but she passed out in his arms. Outside in the shadows of the forest, the alien soldiers returned to their dropship. "This place, it smells of her." One of them growled. The leader said nothing, but placed a tracker on John's roof before lifting off into the dark sky. They would return. With others. Cliffhanger. Ending. John laid her gently on the bed and pulled the blanket over her. He turned to his weapon locker, opened it, looked inside. He hadn't touched this stuff in years, but now, he whispered, "If she's who I think she is, I'm gonna need all of it." And outside, the red blinking tracker on the roof kept flashing. The night had turned cold. The wind carried a strange silence, like something was watching, waiting. John didn't sleep. He sat near the door, a loaded blaster resting on his lap. His old combat gear lay on the table, dusty but still working. His eyes kept drifting to the bed where she slept, her glowing skin now dimmed, breathing calm. But John knew better. This peace wouldn't last. He checked the motion sensors around the outpost, no alerts. Yet something didn't sit right in his gut. And then it happened. A click. A buzz. The power shut down. Total darkness swallowed the room. John stood fast. Emergency backup lights flickered on, weak, red. He grabbed a flashlight, then turned. To her, she was already awake, sitting up, eyes glowing bright gold. "They're here," she whispered. Outside, shadows moved. Silent. No engines. No footsteps, but John could feel them. He opened the hidden hatch under the floorboards. "We're leaving." Now, she hesitated. "Where will we go?" "Anywhere but here." She crawled in first, then him. The hatch closed behind them. Undercool. The outpost was an old tunnel long forgotten, used by smugglers and border jumpers. It led to the canyon. To freedom. They walked fast, flashlights off. Only her faint glow lit the path. The air was damp, the walls tight. Every drop of water echoed like a scream. "Why are they hunting you so hard?" John asked as they walked. She looked ahead. "Because I carry something they fear." He narrowed his eyes. "A weapon?" "No, a secret." Before he could ask more, they both froze. Footsteps. Behind them, close they ran. The tunnel narrowed. Rocks fell from above as old supports creaked. She slipped. John caught her arm. "Keep going," he said. Behind them, a beam of light lit tunnel. Voices in alien tongue echoed. They were gaining. They reached a fork. John turned left. A sharp climb. He remembered this route. It led to the old WATHTOW ear. If it still stood. They burst out of the tunnel, breathing hard. The night air hit them like a slap. Behind them, a flash soldiers pouring out. John grabbed her hand. "Don't stop." The forest was thick, but he knew it better. Branches slapped his face. Roots grabbed his boots. But he kept moving, dragging her along. Then, a scream. She fell. Her leg had caught in a metal trap, one of John's own old perimeter snares. "Damn it," he muttered, pulling the jaws apart. She bit her lip. Blood on her shin. He lifted her in his arms again. "I said don't stop. You're insane," she gasped. He grinned. "Probably." Finally, the old watchtower appeared, broken, leaning, but still standing. He kicked the door open. Inside was dusty but safe. He set her down gently and blocked. The door docked, then climbed up the creaking ladder to the lookout point. From there, he saw them. At least 6 shadows, creeping slowly, scanning. They were close. He looked down at her. "Can you fight?" She blinked. "Not yet." "Can you run?" "Barely." He cursed under his breath. "Then I need a miracle." She suddenly stood up, limping, but strong. Her hand pressed against her chest. Glowing veins appeared on her neck, her arms. Her voice sounded different. "I can give you one," she said. "But it will hurt." John stared. "Hurt who?" "Me." Before he could stop her, she touched the wall. A bright pulse of energy exploded outward, blue and white. The air screamed. The nearby soldiers dropped to their knees, grabbing their heads. John shielded his eyes. "What the hell was that?" She collapsed again. I released. "A signal," she gasped. "Not a weapon, but a memory." "What memory?" "My bloodline, my truth. They'll feel it now." John checked the window. The soldiers were crawling away, some vomiting, some running. It worked, but she was pale now. Her glow faded to nothing. John knelt beside her. "You okay?" She looked at him with tired eyes. "They know who I am now." "And who are you?" He asked again softly. Her lips parted. "I am Varelia, rightful heir to the star throne of Alestria." Then she passed out. Far away, in the orbiting command ship above the planet, alarms blared. An officer stood before a tall figure with burning red eyes. "Sir, we just received a pulse." "A royal blood beacon." The figure turned slowly. "From where?" "Surface Quadrant Forest Sector. He smiled cruelly. So, the girl lives. Cliffhanger ending. John carried Varelia down the stairs, her head resting against his chest. But a strange wind passed through the trees outside. And something else watched from the shadows, something not with the soldiers. Something older. Something that had waited for her return. The fire crackled quietly inside the watchtower. John sat near Varelia, watching her chest rise and fall slowly. She looked peaceful, but weak. Her skin no longer glowed. Her silver hair had turned dull. Gray at the ends, that pulse she had released. It drained her. She was royalty, she said. But what kind of princess collapses after using her own power? He looked around. The soldiers had vanished for now. But John knew this wasn't over, and neither was she. Suddenly, her hand twitched. Then her eyes opened. She sat up quickly, panic in her voice. Where am I? John leaned forward. Still. Alive in a ruined tower, and very lucky. She looked at him, blinking. I had a dream, she whispered. About my mother. And about blood. John didn't ask. He waited. She touched her chest. I forgot. I wasn't supposed to remember. Yet, what does that mean? John asked. She looked into the fire, voice soft. I was born as Varelia Valsoria, daughter of the celestial flame, last heir to the throne of Alestria. She paused, then looked at him. But I didn't know that until yesterday. John frowned. You forgot who you were? She nodded slowly. They wiped my memory before, putting me in the escape ship. It was the only way to hide me from the mind scanners. If I didn't know who I was, I couldn't betray anything. John sat back, trying to process. And now you remember everything? Not everything, she said, but enough. He watched her carefully. So what now? You take back your throne? She gave a short, tired laugh. With what? I have no army, no allies. I can't even walk without falling over. You've got one ally, John said without smiling. She looked at him. Why are you helping me? He didn't answer. Right away. Then he said, because they're hunting you like an animal. And because something tells me you're worth saving. She was quiet for a long time. Then she asked, do humans always risk everything for someone they just met? John chuckled. Only the crazy ones. That night, while she rested again, John stepped outside the tower. The stars above were clearer now. No clouds, no fire. Just silence. He pulled out his old military tag from under his shirt. He hadn't worn it in years. He looked at the name on it. John Sirik, once a soldier, once someone with purpose. Now, just a man in a broken tower, protecting a half-dead alien girl who called herself princess. Then he heard it. Whisper in the woods, not a voice, something deeper. He turned fast weapon. Raised. Nothing. But something was there. Watching. Back inside. Varelia had a vision. She stood in a long golden hall. At the center was a flame that reached the ceiling. Around it were shadows, family, soldiers, advisors. Then blood. Screams. A crown falling to the ground. She looked down. Her hands were on fire. She woke with a gasp. John was already beside her. Bad dream? She wiped her face. A memory. Of the betrayal. My cousin led it. He wanted power. Said the flame belonged to men, not daughters. John helped her sit. Sounds like some of the same garbage back home. She looked at him. He'll come now. He felt my beacon. He always feared I'd survive. John raised an eyebrow. And what does he do to survivors? She didn't answer. He stood. We can't stay here. They'll trace that pulse back. Eventually, where will we go? She asked. John opened a map on the table. There's an old listening post off grid, deep underground. We can hide there or send a message. She studied him. You're not afraid, are you? He gave her a crooked smile. Terrified. She smiled back. Good, she said. Then we'll survive. Far above the planet, In a massive throne ship of black steel, a man in dark robes stood before a window of stars. He watched the pulse map glowing on the screen. "She remembers," he said. A tall guard bowed. "Shall we send the hunters?" He nodded. "And the mind burners too. I want her silent, forever." The screen zoomed in on the region. "She's not alone," the guard said. "There's a human." The man smiled cruelly. "Then kill him first." Cliffhanger ending. As John and Varelia packed supplies, the radio hissed. A voice came through. Broken, strange, alien, but clear. "Varelia, if you hear this, don't run. You'll only die tired." John crushed the radio in his hand. This guy talks too much. The wind screamed outside as a dust storm rolled in. John slammed the hatch shut behind them. The small underground shelter lit up with dim orange emergency lights. Dust covered everything: boxes, weapons, rations, leftover from a war John never wanted to remember. Varelia coughed and looked around. "This place smells like rust and secrets," John smiled. "It was never meant to be a five-star palace." She limped toward the sleeping mat. Her legs still hurt from the forest trap, and her body hadn't recovered fully since releasing the memory pulse. John placed a heat core near her feet. "This should keep you warm." She gave him a sideways look. "What about you?" "I'm fine," he said, leaning against the wall. She pulled the blanket tighter, but her eyes stayed on him. "You saved me twice now," she whispered. "Carried me, protected me. You barely know me." John shrugged. "You're growing on me." Moment passed. She looked down, her voice soft. "On my planet, touching someone without permission is punishable." John stiffened. "Sorry, I didn't know," she cut him off. "Unless they like being touched." John blinked. She looked up slowly, her golden eyes locked on his. For a second, the storm outside didn't matter. The soldiers, the danger, the galaxy, they all disappeared. But then beep. John jumped. His tracker beeped once, then died. He walked over, frowning. "That's not good." "What is it?" she asked. "Short-range motion alert." "Something just passed the outer fence." Her face grew serious. "They're close." John grabbed his blaster. Too close. Suddenly, boom. The entire shelter shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Light panels blinked. Somewhere above, the entrance had been hit. "They found us." John said. "No," Varelia whispered. "He found us." John moved to the far end of the shelter and opened a secret side panel. Behind it, an old tunnel, dark, tight and cold. "Time to go." "I can't keep running," she said, voice shaking. He looked back. "Then help me fight." Her eyes flared gold. "If I fight, I don't stop." John held out his hand. "Then don't stop." They entered the tunnel. The wind above howled louder. Then came voices, alien commands. Heavy footsteps. Inside the tunnel, the ground was slick with water. Varelia stumbled again. John caught her waist. "You okay?" She nodded. "I hate being weak in front of you." John grinned. "You saved my life with a memory blast. I think you've earned a limp or two." She smirked. "Your species is so strange." He raised an eyebrow. "Want me to stop helping?" "No," she said quickly. "Just don't look at me like that." "Like what?" "Like you see me." He paused. "I do see you." She froze and kissed him. Just a second. Just enough to make him forget the war, the tunnels, the chase. Then she pulled away, breathless. "Don't read into that. Could have been nerves," John chuckled. "Sure, must have been nerves." Behind them, the tunnel lit up searchlights. Voices shouting. "No more time." They ran. The tunnel opened into an old mine shaft. Broken rails lined the path. Crystals glowed faintly on the walls. John looked around. "We're near the drop." "The what?" "Old cargo slide. We can ride it down and vanish in the lower ravine." She looked unsure. "That sounds dangerous." He smiled. Everything about you is dangerous. Why stop now? They jumped. The slide was fast, metal screeching under them as they flew downward through the dark. Varelia screamed, then laughed. John couldn't help it. He laughed, too, for 1 second. They weren't hunted. They were alive, but when they hit the bottom, the laughter stopped. They weren't alone. A figure stood at the edge of the cavern, tall, armor like stone, eyes glowing red. Varelia's breath caught. No, it's him. John aimed his blaster. Who is he? She whispered, my cousin. The traitor. Cliffhanger ending. The cousin stepped forward, smile cold and cruel. You chose a human, Varelia? Cute. He raised his weapon. You'll watch him die first. Asterisk John stood still, eyes locked on the enemy. Varelia's cousin. The traitor was bigger than he imagined. His armor looked like it was carved from volcanic rock, dark and burning with faint red cracks. He didn't wear a helmet. He wanted her to see his face. Do you remember, Varelia? The cousin said, his voice like grinding steel. I warned you once. Betray your blood and I'll spill it myself. She stepped in front of John, shaky but unafraid. You betrayed us, Talar. You burned the throne room. You killed our parents. Talar's eyes flashed red. I freed our people from weakness. John raised his weapon. Yeah? You want to brag more? Or are we doing this? Talar smirked. You must be the human. The one she clings to like a pet. He pointed a sharp black blade at John. Kill him, and I'll spare you, cousin. I'll let you live as my prisoner. Or perhaps my prize. John muttered, Your family reunions must be a blast. Varelia's eyes started to glow, but her knees buckled again. She wasn't strong enough yet. Not for this fight. Talar saw it. He stepped closer. John aimed, fired pew. The blast hit Talar square in the chest, but it did nothing. The energy fizzled off his armor like a spark. John whispered, That's new. Talar moved too fast. He knocked John's weapon from his hand with one swing, then grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Let's see what breaks first, your spirit or your neck, Varelia screamed. Her hands lit up, but the glow flickered. Her power wasn't ready. Not without pain. John choked, struggling. His feet kicked, vision going dark. Talar smiled wide, his fangs showing. And then, flash! A pulse of gold light filled the cavern. Talar dropped John, stumbling back. His armor smoked. His eyes widened. Varelia stood tall, glowing from head to toe. Veins of fire raced across her arms. Her hair floated as if in water. A crown of flame burned faintly above her head. She had awakened. Touch him again, she said, and I'll end you. Talar recovered quickly. You want to fight? Me now? He pulled a jagged blade from his back. I hoped you would. Their battle began. John crawled behind a rock, coughing hard, barely able to speak. What he saw didn't look real. The air burned. Light and shadow clashed. Talar's blade screamed through space. Varelia moved like a living flame, graceful. Fast, powerful, but she was still hurting. Every blast she used made her weaker. Talar noticed. You're not ready. Cousin, he growled. You were always just a symbol, never a weapon. He slashed her side, blood sprayed. She gasped, dropped to one knee. He raised his blade to finish her, and then John tackled him. John had no weapon, no armor. Just his fists and fury. He punched, kicked, grabbed, fighting like a wild animal. Talar laughed, throwing him back with ease. You're brave, human. But you're also stupid. He lifted his blade again. Varelia screamed, nitrogen monoxide. And something deep inside her broke open. The ground shook. A wave of light exploded outward. Not fire. Not heat. Memory. John saw visions. Her childhood. The palace. Her mother's final words. When the time comes, choose what must be saved. The light faded. Varelia fell to the ground, exhausted, Taller was gone. Not dead, just vanished. John crawled to her side. "You okay?" She nodded weakly. "I chose." He held her. "Chose what?" She looked into his eyes. "I chose you." Hours later, they hid inside an ancient bunker deep in the cliffs. John bandaged her wounds. "That thing you did. That memory wave, it made him run?" She shook her head. "It showed him what I carry, what I could become." He looked at her. "So now what?" She touched a glowing panel inside the bunker. A hidden console came to life. "Old tech, royal tech. I send a message," she said. "Not for rescue, for revenge." Cliffhanger ending. She sent out a signal coded in royal flame. Across the galaxy, long-lost ships stirred. An army of exiled loyalists saw the symbol flash on their screens. The lost princess had returned. And war was coming. The stars looked different now, not because they had changed, but because she had. Varelia stood at the edge of the cliff, wrapped in a black cloak, wind pulling at her silver hair. Her wounds were healing fast. The glow in her skin had returned. But it was no longer wild, it was controlled, calm. Dangerous. John stood behind her, arms crossed, a new rifle slung over his back. "So," he said, "how long before they show up?" She turned slightly. "I didn't send a message for help." "You didn't?" She shook her head. "I sent a challenge." Far above the planet, fleets began to move. Old warships, rusted but strong. Ships that once served her family before they were cast into exile. Now they were returning. On every screen, her crest burned, the flame inside the crown. Surrounded by stars, across dark moons and old mining colonies, soldiers stood up. Pilots strapped into cockpits. Old royal loyalists whispered her name. Varelia. In the bunker, John prepped gear. "I guess I should get used to calling you Your Highness now." She sat beside him, still tired but smiling. "If you do, I'll throw you off the cliff." He smirked. "That's more like the princess I know." A long pause, then she asked, "Do you regret it?" He blinked. "Regret what?" "Saving me, fighting for me, running with me, almost dying for me." John leaned back against the wall. "I was just a man with an empty outpost and a dusty gun. Then you fell from the sky, and suddenly I mattered again." She looked down. "I don't want to forget you when all this is over." John laughed softly. "Forget me? You kissed me in a sewer tunnel, remember?" She gave him a sharp look. "That didn't count. I was scared." "You weren't that scared," she smiled. "Okay, maybe a little less scared than I should have been." Suddenly, the bunker lights flickered. A soft ping echoed from the console. John stepped over. "Someone's here." Varelia stood. "It's them." On the screen, a face appeared. A woman, aged, scarred, in old battle armor. She saluted. "Your Majesty, we've come for you." Varelia blinked fast. "Captain Soul?" The woman nodded. "The loyals still burn." "We never forgot. Say the word, and the galaxy burns with us." John whispered, "That's one hell of a welcome." They left the planet in silence. No trumpets, no cheers, just stars and dust behind them. Inside the command ship, soldiers knelt as she entered, weapons lowered, fists to chest, but her eyes searched the crowd and found only one face. John stood at the back, out of place, uncomfortable. She walked up to him. Everyone watched. She reached out and took his hand. "My people," she said. "This man saved me when I was nothing. He didn't ask for gold or power. He gave me warmth, protection, a name when I had none." She looked up at John. "Now, I give him mine." Somewhere in deep space, Taller watched the speech. He crushed the screen with his fist. "She thinks it's over," he growled. Behind him, a new army gathered, darker, stronger, meaner. This wasn't finished. Not yet. Weeks later, John walked through the Grand Palace on Alestria's capital moon. He wore royal black, armor lined with silver. Every guard bowed as he passed, but he still hated the attention. He found her in the garden, no crown, no guards, just Varelia in a human jacket, feet in the grass. She looked up. Still here? He smirked. You say that like I'm not supposed to be. I wasn't sure you'd stay. He sat beside her. You saved me too, you know, just in a different way. She leaned her head on his shoulder. I'm not the girl you pulled from that wreck anymore. I know, he said. She looked at him. And I'm not asking you to love a princess. He raised an eyebrow. You're not? She smiled. I'm asking you to love the woman who fell into your arms and never wanted to leave.